Yeah, ready.
How my hair look?
You're all good.
All right, so in-cab inspection. All right, the first thing you're gonna do is you obviously want to make sure you're comfortable. Put your seatbelt on. You want to make sure your seatbelt has no abrasions, bumps or cuts on it. You got to make sure it has no frays. See these little things? These are small frays. You don't want any major frays.
Okay.
And you want to make sure that it latches and unlatches properly. Okay. All right. So that's it for my seatbelt. Now I'm gonna go over my emergency equipment. I need to have 3 things in the truck with me at all times. I need to have a ABC or a BC10 version fire extinguisher. Must be fully charged and dated. Safety pin must be inserted and the needle must be in the green. Okay, and it must be properly mounted and secured to the bottom of the truck. Next, I need to have 1 spare electrical fuse for every major circuit, unless I got a circuit breaker in the truck. Our truck does have a circuit breaker. It's right in there. You see where it says push fuse? You push that in and pull it up. That shows you the circuit breaker on the inside, so we don't carry extra fuses. And then the third thing is my 3 red reflective triangles. They cannot be cracked, damaged, or loose, and they must be able to stand upright. Alright, so that's it for my emergency equipment. Now I'm going to do what's called a safe start. It's how to safely start the truck. I'm going to first make sure I am in neutral. I'm going to make sure my splitter is down. I'm going to make sure both my parking brakes are fully applied. I'm going to press the clutch all the way down and turn the vehicle on. And I'm checking for my ABS, that's my anti-lock brake system light, to come on and come off. Okay, it came on and it went off, so everything is working properly. Now that my vehicle is on, I'm gonna go over my gauges, okay? I'm gonna start with working my way from the left to the right. Over here is my oil pressure gauge, okay? It should work properly and should be at proper levels. Operating levels for the oil pressure gauge are between 40 and 60 psi. Idle levels are right around 20. Currently we're sitting at 25. We just started her up, she's still warming up. Then next is my temperature gauge. Should also work properly and should be at proper levels. Proper levels are between 150 and 210 degrees Fahrenheit. Right now we're sitting at 155, we're still warming up. Here in the middle should be my voltmeter or ammeter. I'm going to cycle through the options till I find it. There it is, 14.0 volts. Now my voltage should be between 13.6 and 14.5 volts. It's at 14 volts, so it's working properly. Next, I'm going to go over my air gauges. I have 2 air gauges. I have a primary air gauge and I have a secondary air gauge. Both of my air gauges should work properly and should be at proper levels. Now the proper levels for the air pressure operating is between 100 to 125. A fully charged system, however, is between 120 and 140. And my safety valves should open up at 150. Okay, so that's it for my gauges. Now I'm going to continue to my lights and indicators. I'm going to first check my indicators, make sure they're working. Left turn signal works. Right turn signal works. I'm going to turn my hazards on. They also work. Turn them off. Now I'm going to check my low beam and my high beam lights. I'm going to flick my headlights on. I'm going to check to make sure that the low beam light is on. It is, so it's working properly. Next, I'm going to pull the stick towards me and check to see that my high beam works. The light turned on, so that's also working properly. That's it for my lights. Now I'm going to move on to my horns. I have 2 horns in the truck. I got a city horn, it's for city driving. Works properly. I got an air horn for highway or emergency use only. That also works properly. After that, I'm going to check my defrost and my heat. I'm going to turn everything to the max setting. I'm going to turn the defrost on and I'm going to turn the heat on. I'm going to put my hand underneath the windshield to make sure it's blowing air on the windshield. It is, so it's working properly. Now I'm going to check my other vents, my front and bottom. I'm going to check my front, check my bottom. It's blowing air, so it's also working properly. And that's it for my defrost and heat. Now I'm going to move on to my windshield and mirrors. My windshield cannot be cracked, damaged, or loose. It must be properly mounted and secured. It can't have any cracks larger than 1 inch. They could obstruct my view, okay? And we don't want any illegal stickers. Only safety and registration, not Amarillo Glass Company. Okay? I don't know why that guy thought it was cute to put that on. Alright. So no, not crack damage loose, no cracks larger than 1 inch, properly mounted and secured to the truck. The rubber seals for the windshield, no abrasion bumps and cuts, no leaks coming through. No illegal stickers, only safety and registration are allowed. Next is your what are those called again? Mirrors? Yeah, mirrors. Your mirrors are not cracked, damaged, or loose, properly mounted and secured, and they got to be properly adjusted so that you can see good out of them, you know? So that's it for the windshield and the mirrors. Now I'm going to test the wipers and the washers, okay? Here it says wiper. You press it in once to turn it on. Make sure it works. It does work. Let's see if it turns off. It does turn off, so it is working properly. The wipers are not cracked, damaged, or loose, and are properly mounted and secured to the truck. And the blades themselves, no abrasion bumps and cuts, and in good condition. Now we're going to test the washers itself, okay? You're going to push and hold the wash button. It should spray fluid on the windshield and leave the windshield clean. It is, so it's working properly as well. Okay, so that's it for the basics. Now I'm going to move on to my 4 tests, okay? My first test is my parking brake test, all right? I'm going to put the vehicle in first gear. I'm going to be testing my trailer first. So I will push in my tractor. I will release the clutch until I feel a slight tug. There's my slight tug. The vehicle didn't move forward. I'll repeat it again. The vehicle didn't move forward, so that lets me know my trailer brakes are working properly. They're holding on.
All right.
So now I'm going to test my tractor. Remember, I pushed it in. Now I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to push in the trailer. I'm going to release the clutch again very slowly till I feel that tug. Okay, a little slower than that, but that's the tug. The vehicle didn't move forward, so that lets me know my tractor brakes are also working properly. I know both my parking brakes are working properly now. That completes my parking brake test. Okay. Next, I'm going to test my service brake. Okay. I'm going to put the vehicle in first gear, hold the brake. I'm going to release both my parking brakes, and I'm going to move the vehicle forward. I'm going to release the clutch. I'm also going to give it a little bit of gas to make sure my speedometer is working. It is. Now I'm going to press the clutch and gently press the brake. Checking my mirrors, my vehicle came to a stop in a nice straight line. That means my service brake works properly. Now I'm going to secure my vehicle and put it in neutral. Okay, my third test is my trailer service brake test. So for this, we're going to clutch brake, put it in first gear. We're going to release both our parking brakes. We're going to pull the Johnson bar down, release the service brake, and then gently let go of the clutch until we do another tug test. There it is. That lets me know my trailer service brake or Johnson bar is working properly. Now I'm going to secure the vehicle, and that completes my test for that. Now I'm going to move on to my final test, which is my air brake check test or my spring brake test, okay? Because we're testing our spring brakes to see if they pop out. Now, before I do this final test, I always want to make sure my air pressure is still good. I want to be fully charged before I do this test. And checking my air gauges, I'm still at 125, so I'm still fully charged. I can proceed. So to begin this test, we got to set it up first. We're going to put the vehicle in first gear. Now for this test, we don't need the vehicle on, so I'm going to turn the vehicle off. I'm going to let go of the clutch. I'm going to turn the ignition on. Okay. Now I'm going to push and release my trailer and tractor parking brake. And I'm going to wait for 10 to 15 seconds for the air to stabilize. And you can also tell by your needles, they should stop moving pretty soon. Okay. My air has now stabilized. Now I'm going to move on to the first part of my test. I'm going to apply the service brake. And I'm going to hold it there for 1 minute. Now watch the needles, they dropped a little. I shouldn't lose more than 4 psi in 1 minute per combination vehicle. And if I was in a bobtail or a straight truck, I shouldn't lose more than 3. So I'm going to count 1 minute and watch my gauges. They shouldn't move more than 4 psi. count to 1 minute. He probably will stop you before that. Okay, I didn't lose more than 4 psi, so it's working properly. That's the first part of the test. Now my second and third part of the test is fan downs. I'm gonna start fanning the brakes on and off now. Every time I press the brake, I'm dumping air. You see that? So pretty much what I'm testing for is to see if my low air pressure warning signal will turn on. Okay, it should turn on before 60, letting me know that I'm losing too much air pressure. So we're testing to see if that works. So I'm gonna start pumping. There it is. That's my low air pressure warning signal. It turned on. It's got the nice solid buzz. Now we checked the air gauges. It turned on before 60, so it's working properly. It turned on when it's supposed to. Okay. Now we're gonna continue pumping the brakes. When the air pressure gets really low, between 45 and 20, my trailer emergency brake should pop out to prevent a jackknife from happening. And then the tractor should pop out right behind it around 40 to 20. But on new trucks, they usually pop out at the same time. So when you're doing this test, just watch them. Don't watch the gauges no more. They both popped out. I stop immediately. Now checking my gauges, this one popped out around 30 psi. This one popped out around 49. Right? Never say 50.
Okay, 49.
They popped out at 49, you know? So average is around 40 psi, so they're working properly, okay? Now I'm gonna secure the vehicle. I'm gonna put it in neutral and turn the ignition off. And that completes the in-cab inspection.
Beautiful.
Okay, stop recording.